Hello, welcome to Lore Master's Lair. I'm your Lore Master, here today for our 200th episode. To celebrate, we'll today be looking at one remaining lost empire, which I have never done a video on yet. The big one. Today, we cover the Azlant Empire. Let's get started. The Azlanti is actually a hard topic, as while they had a large influence on the world, Orfall left little of them, even in terms of ruins. And while more and more ruins are being examined as adventure paths go on and on and on, and while one of the main deities of the world for eons was one of the last Azlanti, we still only have bits and pieces of truly how Azlanti culture and civilization was. People speculate the Azlanti started as a slave race modified by the Agalithus, though that was far prehistoric, so no way to confirm. We do know there were Agalithorus manipulations of the empire in its later years, so the idea that humans have been manipulated by the creatures since the beginning of existence is not too out there an idea. Regardless, the Azlanti Empire was the first human empire in history. Which brings us to our first side tangent, the part of the show where you are not in control. You are not in control. You are not in control. But on an entirely unrelated topic, Agalithus are an aquatic alien creature which has existed since the beginning of the universe. Maybe even the first intelligent creature, these specialists in occult grew themselves a large empire on their home world, only for the slave creatures they kept to rebel, forcing them to leave to new planets and with a new method to rule from the shadows so the slaves did not realize that they needed to rise up. Until, like the Azlanti, they are found out, which often leads to the destruction of those civilizations and likely the planet containing them as well. After all, there are countless worlds to manipulate. Who cares if one disappears? Through scatterings, we know a large-scale war against the Serpent Folks and the early humans, a war which eventually led to the death of the Serpent Folks' deity Isurdius, and their kind being pushed down into the Darklands, where they wait to this day to retaliate against those upon the surface. With the victory, the Azlanti were able to colonize the mainland, there being small colonies in the regions of present-day Taldor, Andran, and Edders across the two inner sea continents. But the greatest was, of course, Tassalon, which we're not going to again today. But what we are going over is side tangent 2. Over the years, I have slowly went over various Azlanti deities. 2 remain, so let us knock them out. Starting with Sigva, the mistress of all. Daughter of Elion, the deity of trade, and Mir, the deity of bloodlines, Sigva is much more evil, being a deity of domination, invasive species, and oppression. Her entire worship was dedicated to transforming good ideals into oppression and destroying native environments. It was a popular faith followed by power-hungry tyrants, but also the common man who gained no benefit from brutality. Kind of says a lot about things, especially in modern day. Azlant grew, Azlant became decadent. Azlant eventually had one of their gods discover that the entire civilization was manipulated from shadows. So the Algothus used their magic to call down a meteor to destroy the planet. The gods intervened, and that is how we got both Orfall and the end of the Azlanti. Population-wise, nothing much to note. It was the first human empire and was made up of humans. Purple eyes think they are better than you are humans, but humans nonetheless. Even to this day, people think highly of the descendants of the Azlanti because of their blood, but no need to get into any of that, a bit more than we need to today. So, even to modern day, modern day Pathfinder, Starfinder set aside, of course, as that was the most magically and technologically advanced civilization to ever exist. From Aeon stones to Magitech to massive architectural wonders. Even if we have lost much of the minute culture, we still have clear signs of the large advances that they were known for. Which brings us to a third side tangent. The other remaining Azlanti god, Asukar, an Azlanti god of healing. The main focus of his faith was, of course, healing, not just through divine magic, but also medicine, surgery, and prosthetics, including Magitech ones. The faith was able to effectively eradicate much disease in the world at the time. There were also a group which focused on the creation of life through magic, which slowly became more and more accepted in the region as time went on. The Azlanti the Azlanti continent, I should say, was once sat in the Azlanti Ocean, between Avastan and Arcadia, but earthfall struck the continent directly, leaving mostly islands scattered across the ocean at this point. There were still scattered ruins, but little tell the full extent of the Azlanti culture. Well, mostly. For specific places of mention, we have the city of Golden Gates, which was the former capital of the empire and the center of Earthfall. None of that survived. Then there are the 7 secret cities, places where psychic powers were mastered away from prying eyes, which include the cities of Aquilan, Zinhola, and Great Handrasoma. Blithvale was the holy city of Akavna, and the House of Aeons existed as a place to worship the Aeons in the old days. There was also Towers of Heavens, each secret project to raise humanity above Galorian. And as for landmarks, the former highest mountain, now the tallest island, is Moherence. Anyway, one more location, but since it is modern, let us mark it a side tangent for. In modern day, nations are spreading and creating colonies, including on the nations which once colonized them. Andoran's colony, built on the Azlant ruins, we have Talmador's Bounty. The small autonomous city-state, which collects its own taxes and is entire 6 weeks' travel from its home country. There was early troubles with Agarthos, but now the city is a stable harbor halfway in the Azlanti Ocean. Which brings us to the end of today's video. 200 episodes and some unnumbered, and still plenty of topics to cover. Thank you for everyone who occasionally steps in and watches the video. I see how little I get, I don't care. But anyway, I hope to give you what you need. With all that said, here is to many more episodes, so see y'all next time.